am Carly McGuire. I am joined here by...
I'm Holly. And I'm Alicia.
Alicia and Holly are joining me today. You might be wondering why I am wearing a mask. This is part of our social distancing efforts here at Denver Zoo for our virtual safari Zoo to You program. We are not on the same team. I am on a different team than Holly and Alicia. So it is in the best interest of them and just out of an abundance of caution that I continue to wear a mask while they talk to you about Rio, our tamandua. We just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to everyone who has donated so far to Denver Zoo. We really appreciate it at this time. Our doors are closed, and that means all revenue has halted from our guests and our visitors who buy things at the gift shop, who come through our gates. So even if you can donate just the cost of one ticket right now, that would be incredibly helpful to keeping operations somewhat normal here at Denver Zoo. So to get to the fun stuff, let's talk about Rio. Everyone is so curious, and parents at home, we have provided some activities and questions and guiding topics that you can work with your kids at home while you watch about Rio, her adaptations, and things you can do at home. So Holly and Alicia, I'm gonna let you all take over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are actually our Wild Encounters team here at Denver Zoo, and while we really miss you guys right now, we are so excited for the opportunity to bring the zoo to you in the quarantine of your own home and still get to share some of our favorite animal ambassadors with you. Now, Rio is a 15-year-old tamandua, so she is a southern tamandua. Now, you may notice some things about her that are very similar to the very popular giant anteater. So she is a lesser anteater. So even though she's lesser, she has some of the most incredible adaptations that the giant anteater would. Now, first and foremost, you may notice that she has this beautiful blonde coat. Now, this is fairly unique. These guys can vary in coloration. They can be a brown or a gray, this beautiful white that's found in a very small region of South America, or they can be what you call vested. So they are white and they look like they're wearing a little black vest, very unique. So these guys are found in South America. There is another very close relative found in Central America. These guys can be found in several different habitats. They can be found in grasslands and savannas, and they can also be found in dry and wet forests, including the rainforest. So Alicia here, you can see that she's feeding her some snacks. What those snacks are, I'm sure you can guess, bugs. Lesser anteater kind of gives it away. Right now we're feeding her some mealworms, which happen to be her favorite treats. Now, Rio is an animal ambassador, so she has a really unique job here at the zoo, very unique to other animals at the zoo. She comes out and does programs on-site and off-site. So she goes to outreach and does programs at schools and nature centers, community centers, and even senior centers. So very unique job here at the zoo. She's kind of one of our animal ambassador stars. So we're going to show off some of Rio's incredible adaptations. You can tell a lot about an animal by what they have on their body, what's big on their body. So definitely take a look at and what you think she might be using some of these things on her body for in the wild. And we'll start bringing her along this branch so she can really demonstrate off some of those adaptations. We'll see if she'll come down. Now you may notice how long that nose is. Now one of the questions we had for you guys was to really look at her face and notice what's big on her head. Again, that will often tell you what an animal is good at. Notice her really small eyes, kind of small ears, but notice that really, really long tongue. That's going to and the long nose. That's going to tell you that she has an incredible sense of smell. These guys are mostly nocturnal, sometimes awake during the day, but they don't have great eyesight, so they are really relying on that sense of smell to find the bugs that they like to eat. Now they do have okay hearing, but again, really relying on that sense of smell. Now something that you guys actually can't see or smell from home is that these guys have a very unique smell. They have almost like a skunky odor. Now biologists actually think that smell is used for two reasons. Either it's to ward off predators. A predator is like, ooh, I do not want to eat that thing, it smells weird. Or it might also be to find each other in the wild. These guys are mostly solitary. They don't live in large family groups, so that smell might be to help them find each other. Now, Alicia's demonstrating my favorite adaptation, her 16-inch long tongue. Now, you may notice the shape of her nose is really great for fitting deep down into termite mounds and anthills, and then check out that tongue. once she uses those really sharp claws to open up that termite mound, she uses that tongue and sticks it straight down there. And you guys, that tongue is sticky. So if a keeper were to have it on her hand, it's almost like you ran a glue stick down your hand. So very, very sticky. And they can eat up to a pound of ants in one sitting. So that's a lot of food for such a small animal. Now I did mention those claws. These guys, if you notice how small that mouth is, it's about the width of a pencil. They don't have any teeth. So the only way that they can either defend themselves or open up termite mounds is to use those really, really sharp claws. And don't be fooled, those things are very impressive and very, very sharp. So if she were to defend herself, she could really scrape up and really scratch up a predator in the wild.
Holly, we noticed that Rio is not necessarily coming down onto the log. What is this kind of training that we do with this positive reinforcement? She has the choice to come down, but what if she doesn't want to?
That's a really, really great observation. Notice that if she's, Alicia's trying to encourage her down, and if she's not wanting to come down, that's okay. There's no repercussions for that. But if she does come down, she gets that really big handful of worms. And this is actually kind of new for her to come onto this log. So we are kind of working through to see what's making her most comfortable. Keepers are really good at observing our animals' individual behavior to see how we can make them most comfortable. So we might go back over there and reset. This is all positive reinforcement training. And this is the type of training we do here at the zoo. So if an animal chooses to participate, they get lots of really tasty treats for it. And if they don't, that's okay too. There's no repercussions for that.
Kara wants to know, are they nice?
Are they nice? So what you're looking at right here is years and years of relationship development between their keepers. So, she was hand-raised by zookeepers. Now in the wild, they are mostly shy, so they just want to be left alone. The only time that they might rear up and show off those claws is if you're bugging them, and only to defend themselves. They're definitely not going to go off and try to hurt anyone. They are a very calm, gentle species.
It's very cool to watch her really sniffing her way around. This is a new setup. I'll show everyone. We have created sort of a little course for Rio if she wants to participate. But she's really sniffing it out because this is something new for her, isn't it?
It absolutely is, yeah. And this is actually what you would call enrichment. We have some enrichment down on the floor if she chooses to participate with that. But this is called a novel environment enrichment. So presenting a new space to her that she can explore and use those adaptations. So because these guys can be found in trees, notice that we have a lot of branches. They're really good at climbing. So we're presenting her the opportunity to show off those adaptations, which is a really cool goal for enrichment.
Zoe and Alara want to know if her fur is soft or coarse.
Really great question. That was something a question we had for you guys was to notice that fur. The fur is very coarse. And it might seem strange that an animal that is from such a hot climate would need thick, coarse fur. And that all comes down to what she likes to eat. Bugs can bite, especially when they're eating a pound of ants in a sitting. Those can bite. So actually, it's really hard for the bugs to get through that fur, and so they end up just leaving her alone because they can't get through to the skin.
Sam, Gracie, and Maggie from Grand Junction want to know why she has such a long tail and what is the purpose of this tail.
That's a really great observation, you guys. She has a prehensile tail. So similar to monkeys, opossums, they can use that tail to guide them along branches. And you can kind of see how she's using that to guide her along that thin branch. And then they can also wrap it around branches in order if they're really reaching for a hole with bugs in it.
Is that why the tail doesn't have much fur?
Absolutely. It's a lot easier for her to grab onto the branch if there's less fur on it.
Awesome. And some age 4, Scarlett, wants to know if they eat worms or grasshoppers.
In my experience, I would say worms are definitely their preferred choice. So they will definitely eat worms and grubs and ants and termites in the wild. If they find a grasshopper and they think it smells good, they'd probably go for it. I think they'd take that opportunity, but that's not their first choice.
Is this animal endangered or vulnerable or threatened? Do we know?
These guys are what you call least concern. So that means we're not too worried about the wild populations just yet, but they are found in vulnerable habitats. So we've got rainforests where they are being cut down. So there may come a point where they do enter the endangered category, but they're doing okay right now.
That's great. How much can they eat in a day? A lot of people are curious how much Rio eats in a day.
I know that they can eat about a pound in a sitting, and I have read that they can eat up to 9,000. They can eat up to 9,000 ants in a day.
Interesting.
That's a
So
lot of ants.
up close, you can see some people are asking. It looks like Rio sort of walks a little pronated on the outsides of her feet. Is there a reason for that?
Really great observation. So as we talked about, those are her defense. So she needs them to stay long and sharp. So in order to do that, she walks on the side so that she can protect those claws, so that she can keep them nice and sharp.
Are tamanduas fast?
They absolutely can be fast. So she, at 15 years old, is a little bit older, so she's a little slowing down just a little bit, but they actually can gallop. So what you can see is they'll lift up that tail almost like a dorsal fin, and it helps them as they gallop like a horse. It's very cool to see.
And some people are curious about what the white target that Alicia's working with is and what its purpose is.
So
we stopped some mealworms.
that is a target pole that we use across species at Denver Zoo. It is a way for us to move the animal without having to pick them up. So it's choice-based training again. So all she has to do is touch her nose to it and gets a reward for it. So that means we can move that target anywhere we want in her exhibit, and she just knows she has to move her body to get to that target, and that helps us when we're servicing or if we want to use it for training other behaviors.
Parents, this is a quick reminder. If you go to denverzoo.org/zoo2you, we have some resources on there and guided activities you can follow along with while you watch us work with our Tamandua Rio here. Someone wants to know how old they can get.
So the oldest I've heard is about 19 years old under human care. I know that they live a lot less in the wild, around 10 or 11 years old in the wild. Here at the zoo, she gets all the medical care and the best diet that she needs, so they can actually live a little bit longer under human care. So at 15, she's definitely a senior, and so we are adapting our care to her senior lady life, and just watching for certain things as she's getting older.
Hi, Marlena. Our Rio's tongue is very sticky. But someone wants to know, is it smooth or rough?
Good question. I would say it's a little bit more smooth. But it does act like a fly trap. So when she sticks she can get like dozens of worms to stick to that tongue at once. So even though it's smooth, it's very, very sticky.
All right, well, she's really enjoying this kind of enrichment course here. So if anyone wants to see, those are mealworms. There are no mealworms on the phone, Rio. She's very curious. She wants to say hello to everyone. Are they related to the sloth family? People are wondering.
Oh, yes. You guys are awesome. These are great questions. Yeah, they are what you call xenarthrans. They are related to sloths and armadillos.
Jessica, her favorite treat is mealworms, it looks like.
Yes. And also, we do give her honey on occasion. That's her absolute favorite treat, but we have to limit that a little bit because it's so sugary.
Here she comes on the ground. Now, what else other enrichment have we set up here?
So these are other enrichment items that she can use her natural abilities for. Again, using that awesome sense of smell. So we have just some different substrates on the ground so that she can dig for worms. We had some worms in there earlier. And if she chooses to engage with it, great. And if not, it's same like training. That's okay too.
When tamanduas have babies, do they have multiples or one at a time?
They usually have about one at a time. If they ever do have two, one usually doesn't survive. So they have a gestation period of about 130 days, so quite a long gestation period, and have one young, and that young will ride on mom's back for sometimes up to a year before they move off on their own.
Now, being in the same kind of family as sloths, do they hang upside down?
So they can hang upside down. So they are pretty big. So they can't necessarily hang for very long like a monkey would, but they can hang for just a little bit, usually as they're just trying to get down a little bit lower to a more sturdy branch.
Paula wants to know, when is Rio's birthday?
What do we say, November 16th? Mm-hmm. November 16th is her sweet 16 this year.
Oh, she'll have her golden birthday in November. Hi.
Now you guys see how she's standing up like that? That's actually a really cool behavior that she'll do if she's ever defending herself or reaching for something like a branch. And they'll often balance on that sturdy back tail, kind of like you see kangaroos do as they balance themselves.
Do tamanduas have teeth?
They don't have any teeth, so they really need those claws to defend themselves and to break open termite mounds.
Is her eyesight bad, or is she just more reliant on scent?
Poor eyesight. Doesn't mean she can't see, but it just means she's mostly relying on that sense of smell.
Rio's saying hello to everyone. She's following that target that we've been putting out. That is just a choice-based way to move her around this enrichment course.
So Carly, I would love to tell you about her unique story too.
Yes, please do. Everyone is very curious, not just about the species, but about Rio herself.
So in accredited zoos across the country and across the world, we have what we call species survival plans. So specific breeding goals to maintain really diverse genetics across our organizations. So in 2014, she was paired with a male from Reed Park Zoo, and they successfully had 2 young from that program who have since gone off to other zoos, and Keto, her mate, also is down at Houston Zoo now. But one of the training tools, that target poll that we used earlier, helped us train a choice-based medical procedure behavior. So we had to train her how to receive ultrasounds.
Oh, wow.
So we used the target poll to kind of lift up, and then just feeding her worms so that we could use this ultrasound training tool to rub her belly so that we could train her to participate in her own care. And so she received regular ultrasounds throughout both pregnancies, working really closely with our veterinary team, and made all those procedures choice-based, which was amazing.
Talk to us about how significant it is to get that voluntary participation in something like an ultrasound.
It's an incredible thing to be able to do, because having an animal clearly choose to participate in their own care tells you a lot about their behavior and a lot about the care that they're getting. It shows that she's not stressed during it, and it definitely just proves that we give great care when we can train those types of behaviors.
How small or large are Tamandua babies?
They are the most precious things in the world. I believe her first baby, Cayenne, was about 305 grams.
Oh.
I remember it because it was a great moment in my life too, in our keeper's life. We worked really hard on that. So about 305 grams. They grow really quickly. They are born with their claws. And at about 3 weeks old, she was already climbing out of the nest box on her mom's back, and mom was already climbing upside down with her, and she was so strong, even at just such a small size, that she would wrap her tail around the base of her mom's tail. Very, very cool experience to see.
Aww.
She was a really good mom.
So Heidi wants to know, why does Rio's nose get narrow at the end? We have covered this, but we've got some new people joining us.
Yeah, welcome to everybody that's just joining us. So the shape of her nose is indicative of where she likes to find her food. So she likes to bury that nose deep in an anthill or a termite mound, and she also is really good at breaking the bark of trees open to find ants also. So having that slender nose lets her shove it down those holes.
And here she is saying hello to everyone. It's really hard to catch a good visual of that tongue. It moves so fast, but I'd compare it to like a skinny earthworm, if you're wondering at home what it looks like up close. Now, where in the wild can tamanduas be found?
So southern tamanduas are found in the savannas and rainforests of South America, so very, very common in Brazil, and they have a very close cousin found in Central America as well.
What color are her eyes? Can we see them? They look
They're like a brown, I think. Yeah.
Do tamanduas have good hearing?
They do have good hearing. I would say their eyesight is their least good sense. I would say smell first, hearing second, eyes last.
And what are we sprinkling out here for her?
Her absolute favorite, which are mealworms.
Mealworms. What else is in her diet? Some people are wondering if she eats plants or other animals or other bugs.
She has a very unique diet. We actually have a very cool gruel that we make her. So it's just a mix of very species-specific insectivore chow, leaf eater biscuits. We even give her black beans, spinach, and some digestive product to make sure that her tummy's staying nice and healthy. So she'll get that gruel when we put her home.
If you are just joining us, we're doing Denver Zoo's Zoo to You, a virtual safari. We are with our Wild Encounters team. This is Rio the Tamandua. If you can and are able, we are accepting donations right now. Being closed is very hard on Denver Zoo. Animal care not affected. We are still giving them great enrichment, all their food, but it would really help us if you can donate even just the cost of a ticket. Parents, if you're watching with kids, we have some resources in the post and on our website, denverzoo.org/zoo to you, where you can find some fun activities to join along. So this may look like a soda box to a lot of people. What do we call it here at Denver Zoo?
So this was something that is just enrichment items. I wanted to show off how quickly she can break open boxes. So designing enrichment with reusable materials. So this old soda box, putting some worms in there to try to drive out that natural behavior of being able to break things apart with those really strong nails. That'd be something that she does naturally in the wild to break up those termite mounds.
Let's see her go for it.
Sometimes we don't make it challenging enough, so it looks like she may have found the goods without ripping it open. But this is something that we can do behind the scenes with animal ambassadors a lot more often, of just reusing materials to still drive out the behaviors that we want.
So here is Rio deciding if she can reach any of these on the floor logs. Probably not. Can tamanduas swim?
Ooh, I don't think that they choose often to go into the water. If they ever fell into the water, I've never seen one in the water. So I can't say. I don't have a definitive answer.
Someone wants
Good
to know,
question.
is it fun to take care of tamanduas?
Rio happens to be one of my favorite animals to care for. I wish you guys could smell her right now. They're actually very, very stinky animals. They're actually known as the stinkers of the rainforest. And again, I told you guys earlier that may be to deter predators or to drive them away, or it might be to find each other in the wild since they're solitary. So she definitely makes us smell like her, but she's very, very sweet, very intelligent, and so yes, very fun to work with her. One of my favorites.
How do we come up with enrichment items?
So, great question. So, we have a huge enrichment program here at the zoo, and it's all goal driven. So, how that starts is we do as much research as we possibly can about the species, understanding what they're good at, what they do naturally in the wild, because we want to focus on those behaviors that they would do naturally to make sure that they're using their brain and using their natural abilities. And then we have to think about individuals too. I did mention that she's 15 years old, so we are starting to make enrichment a little bit easier for her since she's a senior. So thinking about what the species is good at, and then thinking about what the individual is good at, and having it be goal-based.
Amanda and Riley want to know, is this as big as she'll get?
She is full grown, yeah. So even though she's related to the giant anteater, which is much bigger, this is full grown for her.
A lot of pet owners will recognize this. This is a puzzle feeder. It just gets her going around. She's really getting those mealworms very fast.
Yep, so that sticky tongue really allows for those bugs to stick to her tongue, and she's going to have a nice full belly when we're done with this today.
Do tamanduas come in other colors? Does their fur change?
Their fur doesn't necessarily change in color, but they can come in different colors. So she is a rare blonde tamandua, and there are gray and brown ones, and then they can also be vested where they're white, and it makes them look like they're wearing a black vest. So they have black fur around their shoulders and chest.
Some people are very curious. I'm going to try to get as close as I safely can to know what the nails feel like, how sharp they are, and if there's a reason for them being that sharp.
So they are, so Alicia's kind of showing them off. They are incredibly sharp. So their natural predators in the wild are going to be the Amazonian puma, the jaguar, and number one predator is actually domestic dogs, believe it or not. They have such a strong scent, dogs can find them. Those are sharp enough to rip the belly of a cat open in one swipe.
Ooh.
So very efficient tools.
That is so interesting. Can you list those predators off again?
We had there's a puma in the Amazon, jaguar, and domestic dogs. And they actually are hunted as well because people down there think that these guys hunt their sheep or their dogs. But in reality, they're actually defending themselves against dogs often. Misunderstood species, mostly because they're so secretive.
Do tamanduas climb trees? Cadence wants to know, age 7.
Thank you, Cadence. They are incredible tree climbers. So you notice that prehensile tail, that really long tail, allows them to be really good climbers, wrapping around tree branches to help them climb up and down those trees. Good question, Cadence.
How much does Rio weigh? I know it's an impolite question, but people are curious.
She is about 11 pounds.
Okay, so about
a little bit less. 14, 15 pounds. We weigh in kilos, so we have to do math sometimes.
Oh, how many tamanduas do we have here at Denver Zoo?
Right now we have Miss Rio here, and then we actually have two off-the-scenes pairs that we had a species survival plan breeding recommendation for. So they are behind the scenes. So Rio is the only forward-facing tamandua you'll see at the zoo. So yes, off-site as well. So a really important part of Animal Ambassador's job is to go off-site and reach guests that might not be able to come here.
Wow. Someone wants to know, is she a good jumper?
You know, when she's reaching from branch to branch, she can jump a little bit, but usually she still has a tail wrapped around the perch. So I wouldn't say she's like a monkey and can jump, but she might do a really powerful reach, not quite a jump.
Favorite part about working with tamanduas?
Oof. There's so many things. I think that every animal we work with is just inspires us every day. And I think in a really intelligent animal like Rio, it's just really rewarding to work with her, to be able to especially build enrichment for her and see her using those natural abilities. When I really see her utilizing a piece of enrichment that we made, it's just really rewarding to see.
Was Rio born in human care?
She was born under human care. I can't remember which zoo it was, but she did come from another zoo.
Oh, this is a good question. What color is her skin under her fur?
It's very similar to our color a little bit more blotchy. Kind of see how her tail coloration is, but it's a little bit pink on her belly, and kind of similar to us on the rest of her body.
Do tamanduas bite?
They cannot bite, so they don't have any teeth, but they sometimes, if we're feeding them with our hands, they might pinch a little bit with those claws, but no biting.
All right, we have another special guest, a relative of Rio, and her name is Pele.
Uh-huh.
And tell us about Pele before she comes out.
So Pele.
Oh, or she's just right. Oh, let's go. Let's go check her out. This is Pele, everyone.
So this is Pele. She is, if she wakes up, she is a 3-banded armadillo. So the reason we wanted to bring Pele out is these guys are very closely related. They're in the same family. Now, and they're also found in very similar habitats. These guys are found in Brazil and in South America, as are most armadillo species. There are a couple dozen armadillo species, and this is actually the only species that can roll into a ball. So sometimes people think that all armadillos can, even the 9-banded armadillos that you can find down in Texas and stuff like that, but this is the only one that can truly roll into a ball. So what she'll do, she'll tuck those legs in and put that head and that tail in, and it's almost impenetrable. So a predator cannot get through her really thick skin. She almost looks like she has scales, but I like to compare it to the calluses on your feet in the summertime, just really, really thick skin.
Let's quickly explain to people what that little trail of white shred that came out of Pele's shell was.
So this was some enrichment that she brought with her. So she's really similar in that she's got a really good sense of smell, and she's a burrower. So we actually had a big pile of shredded paper, again reusing materials in our enrichment. So she was buried deep in a big pile of shredded paper.
So there she goes, dropping more of it out as she kind of walks around. So not only is Pele a close relative of the Tamandua, but she and Rio are also almost the same age, aren't they?
They have 16th birthdays coming up in November, just a few days apart. So we're going to have to do a Zanarthrin birthday party, I think. Zanarthrin Sweet 16.
She is pretty speedy. She's enjoying all the enrichment out here.
So you can kind of see she's walking right over it. She knows there's worms in there. She's got some really strong claws like Rio does. So again, digging down into the dirt, you can kind of see as she walks around. And she can kind of see she's tapping her nose around, using that sense of smell, looking for those mealworms that she wants to eat.
How hard is Pele's shell? Someone wants to know.
It doesn't quite feel like the shell of a turtle, but a very, very hard skin. So, I'm trying to compare it. I always say like really hard heel of your foot in the summertime, just very, very thick skin.
Pele's trying to go under the table. Now, Pele, what is the hair that people can see under her shell?
So she is a mammal, so that means she has body hair. So that's just fur that's on her belly to keep her a little bit warmer. But yeah, so she does have fur. She is a mammal.
There's her little face, if you're wondering. I'll just kind of let her walk around there for a little. And you said Pele is the only type of armadillo that can actually go into a full ball?
Yes, so she will, see if I can bring her over here.
It's a little harder to keep up with
So
Pele.
you can kind of see she's got, there are her little legs, and see she's already kind of showing you how she uses these 3 bands and that are kind of flexible in order to roll together. Otherwise, this area here is really hard.
What is the benefit of being able to roll up tight like that?
To protect herself against predators. So if she's being bothered by a predator, she can roll really, really tightly into a ball. And a lot of times a predator might, she's too quick for you. A predator might just say, hey, this is too much work to try to get to the goods. So they'll just leave her alone.
Can Pele see well, or is she just kind of exploring every corner of this room on instinct?
Very similar to Rio, not great eyesight. So as you see her tapping her little nose around, she is using that sense of smell to navigate.
If you're wondering if Pele is fast, she is. She's hard to keep up with.
We sometimes have to take slow-mo videos of her to make sure she's walking okay, and that she's just so fast.
I'm going to catch her on the other side here. What are the predators of an armadillo?
I would say predators are going to be fairly similar. Domestic dogs a lot, but probably smaller cats, so maybe the jaguarundi. Might think she's a tasty snack.
This is getting out of control.
And again, this is enrichment for her too, just like with Rio. We try to get Pele out because, as you can see, she does love to exercise. So she's going to play with those keys right there. But getting her out into a novel environment so that she can exercise and explore, and spreading worms out for her is great enrichment for her.
How heavy is this gal?
Let's do some math, Alicia.
Like a pound.
She's
It's probably about a pound.
She is going every little inch of this room, exploring it.
She will march an entire room.
So if you were tuning in earlier, now you're joining us. The Tamandua has not turned into an armadillo. It's a different animal. This is an armadillo. And before we were showing you Rio the Tamandua. So Holly, can you explain to everyone the similarities and how the armadillo and Tamandua are close relatives?
Yeah, so we talked about a few different things. Definitely what they're good at. So very strong sense of smell and poor eyesight. Eating very similar things. So they are eating bugs. These guys are insectivores. So very similar to Rio at the zoo, she gets an insectivore gruel. And so she is eating lots of bugs in the wild.
Oh boy, this is a good flip the switch question. We always ask zookeepers if they have a favorite animal. Someone wants to know if our animals have favorite keepers.
Oh, good question. So that actually can happen. Sometimes certain animals take longer relationship building periods. I specifically think of parrots. A lot of times you have to take a lot of time to develop a relationship, them getting to know you. But something like an armadillo, they pretty much love everyone. I don't think Pele is partial to one keeper.
Someone wants to know, can Pele and armadillos bite?
So armadillos are not going to bite. It's very similar to Rio also. They are going to be, let's see if we can pop her in this dirt and see if she'll dig around in it. They might use their claws to scratch or something, but my first defense is just to roll up into a ball.
Oh boy. She's giving me a backache holding her around at this level. So Paula wants to know why armadillos have hair on their bodies. They are mammals. Is that right?
Yeah, so they're mammals. And sometimes actually we get people guessing that she's a turtle when they first see her because she does look like she has a shell. But she does have that fur just like most mammals do. And so it's something to keep her warm or it might help her sense what's beneath her.
So Pele is a three-banded armadillo?
She's a three-banded armadillo. They are found in South America.
South America. So they're used to a much more warm, humid climate.
So she can be found in the grasslands, in the forests, similar habitat to Rio or Tamandua, actually.
If you are just tuning in, this is Denver Zoo's Zoo to You, a virtual safari. We are with Pele, the three-banded armadillo. We were earlier with Rio the Tamandua. Parents, we have some questions and activities that your kids can follow along with if you want to rewatch this video later with them. And if you can and are able to, donations are so critical for Denver Zoo right now. Our animals, as you can see, are still getting that world-class care they get every day, but without our revenue, without our guests, we are really struggling. So we can hope if you can give us at least one ticket's worth of donations, that would be so helpful right now. Thank you to everyone who has donated so far. Your appreciation, your support is so appreciated right now. So Pele is really having a ball here.
So this is another type of enrichment. Because they dig and love to dig, we're trying to see if she'll look for some worms, but I think she might be more excited to run around again. We'll see if she pops back out.
So Pele is 16 years old. Was she born in a zoo?
Also born in a zoo. I can't remember if she was born at Denver Zoo, but I know that she was born in a zoo. You gonna do it?
How many different types of armadillos are there?
I want to say there's about 14 or 15.
21.
Or 20? Is it? Okay, 21. So there's definitely a lot of types of armadillo. They are found in South America. So the 9-banded armadillo is the only one that you're going to see in the United States, and you'll see that down south. And they're just a little bit bigger.
Are they all this fast?
Yeah, I mean, we actually also have a 9-banded armadillo on our ambassadors team, and he's pretty quick too.
Pele is enjoying this exercise and enrichment and just giving me a workout. She ran into some mealworms. So there she is. Is this Pele at her full size?
Yes, so she is full grown. She won't get any bigger than this.
Wow. Any more questions out there? Someone wants to know, do we know how big a armadillo's brain is?
These are awesome questions. You know, I can't speak for the actual size of the brain, but I can say that she is pretty intelligent for her small size. So as you can see, she is at work right now, looking around for those bugs. So she has a brain big enough to survive in the wild really, really well. And they are definitely trainable, just like a lot of the animals on our team. So I can't say that it's like a dolphin or a parrot, but pretty intelligent.
All right, someone wants to know kind of how big is she for scale. So I'll just put like a phone right there. There's your to scale.
Like a hand.
All right, everyone. We've had so many great questions. We've had so many people tuning in. We appreciate it so much. If you missed any of this live stream, we will be posting it to our YouTube channel later this afternoon with those activities that you can follow along with your kids. Holly, Alicia, thank you so much. To all the viewers out there, thank you so much. Remember, you can donate anytime. You can go to denverzoo.org. We have all the information about how you can support us during this closure on our website. Thank you all so much. We will talk to you later.